What would you say if I tell you that the most powerful force shaping modern India is not a political party or corporation or even the government, but the algorithm? That is the central idea behind this book titled The Great Indian Brain Rot by Anurag Minus Verma. This book is not just about social media, but about modern India itself. About what happens to a society when smartphones become extension of human identity, when algorithms shape public opinion, and when attention becomes more valuable than the truth. Most books on technology focus on things like Silicon Valley, AI, or futuristic innovation. But Anurag Minus focuses on something much more chaotic and strangely fascinating: the Indian internet. From influencers to memes to reels to podcasts, dating apps, fake followers, viral outrage, online gurus, political propaganda, and the constant battle of visibility. You get everything in this book and more. This book argues that the internet is not simply changing what we consume, it is changing how we think as well, how we speak, how we argue, and how we even understand ourselves. To give you a genuine idea about what this book is about, I'll just read the first line of the preface itself. It goes like this: there is a complex line in Samuel Beckett's book, Proust and the Three Dialogues with George Duthut. The expression that there is nothing to express, nothing with which to express, nothing from which to express, no power to express, no desire to express, together with the obligation to express. Hindi lyricist Irshad Kamil captured this similar frustration in a very simple and direct manner in a song that goes like "जो भी मैं कहना चाहूँ बर्बाद करे अल्फाज मेरे" from the movie Rockstar. And then if you go to, I mean, I've marked some pages because it is actually a very, very interesting book, and I've come across a lot of lines. I couldn't earmark all of them. One of them is trying to understand the internet is like trying to interview a ghost. It does not still, it shapeshifts, contradicts itself, vanishes, and reappears, and you're never quite sure if it was ever really there or was it just a trick of the algorithm. You think you're watching it, but more often than not, it is watching you, your boredom, your behavior, and your search history as well. So one of the things that I really liked about this book is that it just does not approach internet from a moral high ground or from a holier than thou attitude. The author is not writing like someone standing from outside the internet culture and judging it. He clearly understands it from inside, because once you start reading the book, you'll come across almost all the influencers that are have been relevant in modern India for the past 10-15 years, some of whom I didn't even hear the names of, but reading about them made me understand the internet culture much better. Uh, uh, Basically, one of the central ideas that is running through this book is that algorithms reward attention, not truth, not intelligence, not depth. But this is perhaps why for the last few years you've seen a lot of rage bait videos garnering millions of views and making influencers into literal heroes, basically. And once attention becomes the ultimate currency, people slowly begin to reshape themselves around what performs well online. Because once you start thinking about it, you notice it everywhere, basically. So, one, if you read the book, you might come across questions like, I mean, you might think of things like, why do outrage clips spread faster than thoughtful conversations? Although podcasts are doing well, they are not as popular as rage baiting, basically. Why are people suddenly becoming brands? Why does every platform slowly push creators towards extremes? Not, I mean, I've not seen too many creators who are taking neutral positions and judging things based on facts. And why do people feel pressure to constantly perform online versions of themselves? This book keeps returning to these questions, and honestly, some of these parts feel uncomfortably accurate. Another thing that this book does really well is tracing the evolution of Indian internet culture, from Orkut communities to Facebook to YouTube to Instagram Reels to the post geo explosion where cheap internet has transformed India digitally almost overnight. And this is very important because India did not just adopt the internet, it absorbed it at a massive scale. Suddenly, millions of people entered online spaces at the same time, and that completely transformed things like politics, entertainment, language, relationships, and even aspirations. The internet stopped being a luxury, it became everyday life. And this book tries to capture this transition in a very, very well manner. So, if you, I mean, I'll just read because, I mean, once you read this book, you'll get an idea. Basically, this this chapter I liked it. It's about loveless loners on the internet, and this line I really liked it. Love in India fails with the consistency of a government scheme, grand in promise, tragic in execution, and the blame always is placed on people who dare to believe in it. You might have seen it across your friends, your family, your extended circle, your office colleagues. That this is generally what happens. And I like this internet digital courtyard of connection. So there are some interesting lines in the book. Once we'll also go through this, but I would recommend that if you want to read a book that where you want something novel, something new, and something that gives you a kind of intellectual fodder, you should go for this. Basically, the author points, coming back to the review, the author points out that despite constant connectivity, many people feel deeply isolated, and this is what the first chapter is also about. In the theme of loneliness, we have all of us have like followers on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever social media app that you're using, but very few meaningful relationships. We consume endless content but struggle to sit quietly with ourselves, and we are always online but not emotionally connected at all. And honestly, I think that many people reading this book will recognize parts of themselves in it. This book also discusses some really important aspects like class, caste, and the hierarchy in digital age. So, if you there's this chapter, I'll just turn to it. Digital Kurukshetra: How Caste Mythologies Are in Digital India, page 61. So I came across some very interesting facets, which I would not normally I wouldn't have seen it. Basically, this chapter. So from talking about Neeraj Pepsu and the Gujar mythos, to then talking about the rise of Elvish Yadav and the Yadav system. And one criticism that I have of this book is that it is covering too many things, but maybe it could have delved a bit deeper into it. So because these chapters were very interesting, these portions, and if we had like maybe a bit more material on it, it would have been really good. But whatever is written is also pretty good. So, for example, this is something that I had no idea about: the Mihir Bhoj conflict, a digital battle over history. So basically, talking about Mihir Bhoj, Raja Mihir Bhoj, he was a 9th century king who had been posthumously assimilated by multiple castes in their origin stories. Like the Rajputs call him a Kshatriya, the Gujars call him theirs, and basically it's about for example influencers, fights, and caste armies. So it covers actually some the search for Kshatriyahood, caste in the digital age. So once you read these chapters, you'll get an idea about what it is talking about. And then it talks about Puneet Superstar as well, his rise, his fall, and how he's managed to stay relevant across all these years. And then from Big Boss to the Nalle Berozgar Revolution. So uh, and then these are just some of the chapters, basically from Dolly Chaiwala as well, from cringe to icon. Now, this was a phenomenon that I had no idea about, that it would become such a big thing, actually. So, coming back to the review itself, one of the interesting arguments uh, of this book is that the internet did not magically erase old social structures like caste or class. In many cases, it simply recreated them in new forms, as you would see in this chapter, the digital Kurukshetra, and that makes the digital world far more complex than the early internet optimism that was promised to us. Now, this book is actually very different from traditional academic writing. Because it is pretty sharp, funny, observational. Sometimes it's a bit sarcastic, sometimes chaotic, perhaps in a deliberate way. And I think so that tone works because the internet culture itself is chaotic. So it's like we are in this culture, but we do not understand it. We are just um, uh, experiments within this culture, and we are seeing ourselves evolve, and not in a good way. All of us, not just me, but like I've seen a lot of people evolve ever since the Instagram culture, the realification, the geo thing come, and once geo made internet free, I've seen a lot of us evolve to something completely different, and not in a good way at all. So this is something that this book is trying to explore. And of course it's not without this book is not beyond criticism, that certain arguments could have been explored more, something that I spoke again, and others might also disagree with the cultural analysis, which is fine. And but personally what impressed me a lot about this book was that how original it felt. A lot of modern non-fiction right now feels very very repetitive, but this did not. Like it felt like someone was genuinely trying to document the psychological and the cultural condition of modern digital India across the past maybe 10-15 years, ever since uh, the internet actually exploded in our country. And not many people managed to do that, not many authors managed to do that, while it is still unfolding. So it's not as the internet, this internet culture has stopped. It's still unfolding. We are still seeing new things that we have absolutely no idea about, like the cockroach Janta Party, for example. So at its core, in this book, The Great Indian Brain Rot asks a very, very uncomfortable question, that if algorithms shape the way what we see, and what we see shapes how we think, then how much of our thinking is actually our own anymore? And this is basically what I think about this book. And at a time when most content is designed to keep people distracted, books that genuinely make people think are becoming increasingly rare, and this is one of those. So, if you haven't read this book, I would say that do go and read this book. And if you think that, do you think if social media is actually making society smarter, or is it just more addicted to attention? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And for more book reviews and thought provoking discussions, subscribe to my channel Book Reviews by Aditya. Thank you.